So, this is part two of my reaction to Diddy's federal indictment. And by the way, Diddy is a dirtbag, so let's go.
That they got in their search last March. Remember, I told you like we did an episode on this right after the search happened, and that once they do their forensics, which I guarantee you they got a ton of information. Members and associates of Combs Enterprises, including high-ranking supervisors, security staff, household staff, personal assistants, and other Combs business employees, facilitated the freak-offs, among other things, by booking hotel rooms for the freak-offs. Very easy to prove that. Stocking the hotel room in advance.
You know, every time this attorney or anyone refers to Puffy's extravaganzas, or whatever you want to call them, as freak-offs, it sounds like it's something that should be on like Saturday Night Live. Like, this doesn't even seem real. A grown ass 50-something-year-old man, I think he's 54, having freak offs, forcing sex on people. You scuzz bucket.
With the required freak-off supplies, including controlled substances, baby oil, lubricant, extra linens, lighting, cleaning the hotel rooms after the freak-offs to try to mitigate the room damage, arranging for travel for victims, commercial sex workers, and Combs to and from freak-offs, resupplying Combs with the requested supplies, delivering large sums of cash to Combs to pay his commercial sex workers,
My God.
and scheduling the delivery of IV.
Okay, so I'm just trying to figure this out. If you have, supposedly he's worth like $1 billion or whatever, why do you have to pay for sex workers? And I interpret that to mean prostitutes, men and women. When, if you're Puffy and if you were just a decent human being and you were nice to people, people would be wanting to sleep with you for free just to be around you. But since you are a dirtbag, you felt like you had to get commercial sex workers for whatever reason. And now you are also charged with sex trafficking. My God, you're so stupid.
IV fluids. Delivery of IV fluids. In or about March 2024, during the search.
Okay, let's talk about that. So this guy is getting people high on drugs, and I guess they're getting so high on the GHB and ecstasy, probably cocaine, whatever else. And then to revive them because they're so weak after the freak off, he's supplying IVs, which I guess that is kind of good though, because I guess he didn't want them to die from lack of hydration, right? But this is a diabolical minded individual. And Diddy, you were right where you belong. And a 5x3. I hope it's smaller than that.
Of Combs residences in Miami, Florida, and Los Angeles, California. Law enforcement seized various freak-off supplies, including narcotics and more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant. Notice they didn't really charge him with.
Oh, and more information came out saying that those bottles were not bottles of baby oil. They contained GHB, which is a drug that is, I think it is, whatever the schedule is, it's a controlled substance. And it's supposed to make you uninhibited. And then when you wake up the next day, you don't remember what happened the night before. Puffy, you were going to get it.
The specific 841. In other words, they didn't charge him with possession of drugs. But they're using the possession of drugs as part of the, overt acts for the RICO. And we'll continue to read here, and then we'll talk about what he's looking at and how dumb this guy is. I mean, he's a fucking billionaire. Why the fuck would you do this shit? You know why? Because you...
Do you hear what the attorney's saying? I just said that you are rich. You have seen wealth that the majority of the people on this planet will never see. And this is what you do with it? And all the other people who are like you, the Weinsteins, the Epsteins, any of you people that have all that money. And then here's the one I really don't get. And this just came out. One of the attorneys who's representing 120 people who came forward about Diddy at the freak-offs who were taken advantage of, 25 of them were minors. And they're saying between the ages of 9 and like 15. And then half of those 25 were little boys. What the fuck is wrong with you, Diddler? What the fuck is wrong with you? You are burning in hell right now, and then when you get out of here into the next life, you're gonna be set on fire on your way there.
Because you can.
You know about all the scandal with the Ciroc and stuff like that just ended right before this, so he wasn't really protected by these executives anymore, you know?
Well, who's going to protect him on this? Nobody. Combs subjected victims to physical, emotional, and verbal abuse to cause the victims to engage in freak-offs. So that's your coercion. Combs maintained control over his victims through, among other things, physical violence, promise of career opportunities, granting and threatening to withhold financial support, and by other coercive means, including tracking their whereabouts, dictating the victim's appearance, monitoring, and medical records.
You know, that's some really psychotic stuff. Because, okay, I'm not into guys, but Puffy, you're not an ugly person, and then you're rich, and evidently you must be pretty smart at what you do because you've managed to make $1 billion or however much money you supposedly have. But then you want to use your power as leverage to get what you want when you could already get it for free, you fucking idiot. Most people would probably just give you what you wanted because they either liked who you were, maybe they were physically attracted to you, you know, but if you were just a nice person, you know, there's a saying, and I had to learn this when I was younger, that you will attract more bees with honey. But you want to be a terrorist and terrorize men, women, and children. You know what? And that's where the buck stops for me right there. Like, I would rather hear about you murdering people than about you forcing 9-year-old boys to engage in freak-offs, you dirtbox.
Controlling their housing and supplying them with controlled substances. During and separate from the
So
freak-offs,
disgusting.
Combs, among other things, hit, kicked, threw objects at, and dragged victims at times by their hair. These assaults often resulted in injuries that took days or weeks to heal. And you keep in mind, these victims are going to come in and testify to this shit. And I bet you some of this stuff is already on video. Combs also threatened victims' careers and livelihoods if they...
Diddler, your ass is grass. It is hammer time. Get ready. Because when you walk into that courtroom and these people are having conversations about what they're going to do with your life for the rest of your life, and for once in a very long time, you have no control. That's a bad feeling when you walk into the courtroom. And I've been the one before, but not for anything like this. But when everyone in that courtroom is there for you, everybody, the offense, the defense, the judge, the jury, the audience, if they have an audience in there, you're not in control anymore, buddy. And that is something that your brain can't process, but you better get used to it because this is going to be the rest of your life. And you're so stupid. Why did you even come to court? Why did you even turn yourself in? You should have dipped and never came back. You should have left the country, but you didn't understand that when you turned yourself in, you were never leaving prison. What a dummy.
Resisted participating in the freak-offs. Victims believe they could not refuse Combs' demands and say that's going to be his defense, is that no, this was all consensual. Without risking their financial job security or without repercussions in the form of physical or emotional abuse. Combs also used the sensitive, embarrassing, and incriminating records that he made during the freak-offs as collateral. In other words, I'm going to show your mommy you getting drilled from behind by 3 guys. I mean, that's what he did.
Okay, Diddler. I'm trying to think of what's beyond a dirt box. You're like, what's the word for it? You're like fermented dumpster juice with maggots and poo and rotten meat and 5-year-old period blood in it. You are disgusting. Threatening to show, and I've heard stories about some of the stuff that you did years ago. Like I heard about what you did, Diddler, with Christopher Williams. I don't know if any of you guys know or have heard, but I heard this like 10 years ago that Diddy had Christopher Williams, who was an R&B singer from back in the day, like the 90s. He was in New Jack City, the movie with Wesley Snipes. He had that song, "Don't Wake Me, I'm Dreaming." Anyway, I'm not a singer, but so Christopher Williams, yeah, he got strung out on drugs, right? But a lot of these entertainers do. But Christopher Williams wanted another record deal, so he went to Puffy to ask him for a deal. You know what this garbage dumpster does? He tells him, if you want a deal, suck my wee-wee. And so the story goes that Diddy's secretary walked in on Filthy Diddler, getting topped off by Christopher Williams. And then what makes it even so bad, and this goes to what the attorney is saying, because he probably recorded that too. After he did the deed for Diddler, Diddler still didn't give him a deal. What type of a piece of trash are you? I gotta think of something that's beyond trash. I had a few good ideas that I said a second ago, but I don't quite know what type of filth you are, but you're past everything that I could think of.
Did. Members and associates of the Combs enterprise, including Combs security personnel, at times carried firearms. On more than one occasion, Combs himself carried a brandished firearms to intimidate and threaten others. That's your force, including victims of and witnesses to his abuse. In or about March 2024, and remember we had one of his people sued him about this. Right after Cassie sued him, there was about 3 or 4 other lawsuits. Yeah. And so I think that's what this is referring to.
Oh, and Cassie. You know what? When I heard, and I'm sure a lot of you did too, that Diddy paid Cassie $30 million because of that tape, there was 2 things that I knew. Number 1, you're going to pay her $30 million and that's not going to raise eyebrows? Oh, I knew that the FBI and whatever else agencies, law enforcement were on him. Oh, I said it is hammer time. But then what I also knew, and he's so stupid, You think you're so smart. And then I also knew that she would still drop the tape. Because I was thinking, hell, if you paid me 30 million and I've got the tape and it's of you abusing me, I don't care what NDA I signed. I'm dropping the tape anyway to double down on destroying you. You are so stupid.
In or about March 2024, during searches of Combs' residence in Miami, Florida, and Los Angeles, California, because remember they did both of those simultaneously, law enforcement seized firearms and ammunition, including 3 AR-15s with defaced serial numbers, as well as a drum magazine. You know, why does he need that? He doesn't need that, but he's a gangster. Not really. 50 Cent didn't want to go shopping with him.
Kicking this shit, and he's like, yo, why don't we like go shopping or some shit? I mean, like, I pay for it. And I was like, what the fuck this nigga just say?
That's a gangster. Members and associates of the Combs Enterprises enabled Combs' control over victims by following his directions regarding financial payments to victims, advancing and suppressing victims' career opportunities, and acquiring the controlled substances Combs used to keep the victims compliant. See, using drugs to keep somebody compliant, that's coercion. Members and associates of Combs Enterprises at times witnessed Combs' violence towards the victims or the victims' injuries caused by Combs without intervening. Instead, members and associates of Combs Enterprises helped conceal the violence and abuse by, among other things, assisting Combs in monitoring and preventing victims from leaving locations such as hotel rooms or Combs residences. These occasions included instances in which a victim was required to remain in the building, or remain in hiding, sometimes for several days at a time. Why? To recover from injuries Combs inflicted without being publicly.
You pig. So then you have these people at the freak offs, and from what I understand, you were beating people, you even pulled pistols on people, you're drugging people, you're dehydrating people, and then after they're all beaten and bruised up, you make them stay so that the evidence of you abusing them disappears. Because you're a damn black demon, you devil, you piece of shit. And you know what? I'm trying not to curse, but I think everyone could understand my frustration. So let me tell you something about me. So I was molested when I was a kid. Okay, my sister molested me. She was like 5 years older than me, and her vagina was the first vagina that my penis has ever touched. And when she did it, I was only like 7 or 8. Yeah, she forced me to do it, and I'll never forget that. No, and it happened in the home of Diddy in Harlem, New York. That's where I was born at, and that's where I lived for some time. Right? So yeah, I lived in Harlem, and my filthy sister did that to me. And then my aunt molested me too. A couple times. It's fucking disgusting. But anyway, so when I hear about Diddy's situation, it just kind of pisses me off, because you're in a position where, like I said, people would do it for free, except for you got the kids. You know what? All bets are off when the kids are involved. I'm sorry. Yeah, since she went to the kids, it's over. It's hammer time. Let's continue.
They observed. In other words, well, we'll let her go and after her bruises clear up. Members and associates of the Combs Enterprise also assisted Combs in locating and contacting victims who attempted to flee his abuse. One of the things that's going to happen here, so notice that Combs is the only one on the indictment. You know, racketeering, you have to be involved with others. It's got to be an organization. You can't just do it by yourself. I guarantee you they've offered immunity to the people around him so that they testify. When Combs' authority or reputation was threatened by the possibility of negative publicity or legal or law enforcement action against him, including in or about late 2023, following public allegations of Combs' crimes, in other words, I think that's Cassie's case, Combs and members of the Associates of the Enterprise pressured witnesses and victims, including through attempted bribery, to stay silent. Remember, he paid her $30 million. Report what they experienced or knew to law enforcement. On phone calls, listen to this. This is just so fucking stupid. On phone calls, Combs and other members and associates of the Enterprise, among other things, provided these victims and witnesses with false narratives of events in an effort to conceal the crimes. Combs caused these calls to be recorded on at least 2 occasions. You know, and they got those through their search warrants. You know what we call that? What do we call that? We call that self-snitching. You know, I mean, why would you do that? Why would you record that call? I suppose you could say that they're going to record it. If I was them, I would have recorded that call.
You would do that, Attorney Rivers, because you're a fucking monkey. You're a cash money monkey, like Diddy, because that's what he is. That's a good word for him, a cash money monkey. Yeah, remember New Jack City CMB, the Italian guys talking about Nino Brown. Yeah, those cash money monkeys. Well, that's what Diddy is. He's dumber than a monkey. But I'm gonna use that for him. So the cash money monkey would record not only these phone calls, but they've got terabytes of video of Is there a word to describe supreme stupidity? Like, there's got to be a word that's beyond what I just said to describe that. You know what, my friend, African guy, he speaks French though, right? There's one word he used to say, and it was called "c'est pas possible." And if you speak French, you know what that is. And that means, in English, more than incredible. You are more than an incredible monkey. More than an incredible cash money monkey, Diddy.
But he should never have been on the phone with anybody like that.
Never.
His people should never have been on the phone. Should have been somebody, shouldn't have been anybody. Here's what kills me. You've got a guy in Sean P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, you know, Combs, whatever his rapper name is, whatever, who made a lot of money. I mean, he was popular, dude. He had several different businesses and was making, you know, by all means, by any account, was a multi-millionaire, if not a billionaire.
And not to mention the fact that he made a heap load of money after Biggie Smalls died, because remember, he died in 1997. He had all the rights to his music, right? And Life After Death came out, and two more subsequent albums came out. Those were huge.
You know your rap history,
right?
Homeboy.
So he, and this is what I'm getting at. When you have a lot of money, and you have no accountability,
none,
and you want to do whatever the fuck you want to do, whenever the fuck you want to do it,
preach on, church.
I think he can go a little bonkers.
Church,
and that doesn't mean that you are bonkers to the extent that you are legally.
You know what I've noticed? A lot of people who naturally have low self-esteem, and you can kind of tell what a person feels about their self by the way that they even talk about themselves, right? Like my sister, the one who molested me, she makes a pretty good amount of money, but she thinks because she makes money, she can do whatever she wants without recourse. But she always would tell me how she knew that she wasn't attractive. She knew that she was not a hot chick that most men would like, because she was suffering from low self-esteem. Okay? And people like that, this sister of mine, she has even gone as far as abusing my daughter, which she thought I would never find out about that, sexually, and she physically has abused her, hitting her. And also she has molested my cousin's daughter, or son, excuse me. okay? But he's absolutely right. Like, these people have low self-esteem, and they get the money, and then they go nuts because now they think they have power. But that's not real power. It's fake power. Because this is what that illusionary power will get you. This attorney talking about how you are fucked.
Not responsible for your actions, right? You just turn into a freak and you have your freak offs.
Weirdos.
You know, you can't go hire hookers to come into town to fuck your staff, fuck your proteges, and put it on film for your own enjoyment against their will, which is what he did. You can't do
My
that.
God.
And the guidelines, he's looking at a maximum of life, but I don't think he's really. I think it's around somewhere between 25 and 30 years.
You
I
cash
think
money
that's what the
monkey.
guidelines are going to be for him.
Cash money monkey.
You know, I want to say 327 months is about what he's looking at, but I'm not entirely sure because I'd have to get all the permutations.
Hey, Diddy. It is hammer time. Hammer time.
Of the enhancements, because there's specific enhancing factors with the violence, with the number of victims, with everything else that's going on. Now, his lawyer gave a press conference just, as I said at the beginning of this video, Mr. Combs, or Diddy, or Sean, he had his detention hearing. Now, his lawyer, here's the thing about this kind of a case. You know, he has to have a defense. He has to have a lawyer, obviously. Mark Agnifilo is his lawyer. And he comes out, you know, and it's a high profile. This is as high profile as it gets, right? But he's in the same jail.
And his attorney is a cash money monkey, too. I'll tell you why. He literally is. Because why would he think that the feds or Homeland Security, whichever one arrested him at the hotel, why would he advise Diddy with the charges that he has and the time that he's looking at to come and turn himself in New York? If I was the attorney, I would have said, boy, you better hop on one of your private jets and bounce like a half an ounce, because you're not going home when they get you, you monkey. 2 monkeys. Good God.
Where I believe he's in the same jail where Epstein was. He's on suicide watch. He's been denied bail. And his lawyer comes out and makes these statements. Let's take a look.
So this was the first step. We have a bail appeal scheduled for tomorrow at 3:30 in front of Judge Carter, the district judge assigned to this case. I think that we made the points that we.
The way this works is this. So when you have a bail hearing, you know, your initial detention hearing, you go before a magistrate. So there's two. So you have a district court judge, and then you have the magistrate. The magistrate's kind of like a buddy judge. They handle all the pretrial stuff. So if you have a motion to suppress, if you have a preliminary hearing, if you have a detention hearing, all the stuff that you have beforehand, those are all heard by a magistrate judge. They don't hear trials. They don't take pleas. They don't get involved in sentencing. But if you don't like what the magistrate says, in other words, he denied us bail, well, then you can appeal that to the district court judge. If that doesn't work, you can appeal it to the circuit court. If that doesn't work, the Circuit Court of Appeals. If that doesn't work, you can go up the chain to the Supremes. But to grant or deny bail in a situation like that is really within the discretion of the court. And absent some showing of abuse of authority, they're not going to change the magistrate's ruling. So Agnifilo is going to charge him a shit ton of money. They're going to look and see at every avenue. And these New York law firms, I know how they work. They're not going to say, okay, we're going to just bill you for a set amount. they're going to say, okay, this is what it's going to take. These are hourly fees. And, and guess what? Millions and millions and millions of dollars later. Oh, I'm sorry, you're out of funds? Oh, fucking bye-bye. That's what they're going to do. Here's how I work. All right, I'll take your case for $1 million. All right? No matter how long it takes, you got me, and I'm using million for euphemistically. And so they're going to bleed him dry. And guess where he's going to wind up? In the same position as if he went in, pulled his pants down, and turned around and mooned the judge. He's going to be in the same spot.
My
Except
God.
if he did that, he'd still have his money. This way, he's going to...
Dude, you're in double jeopardy. Either way you go, you fall on the dagger, you dummy. And that dagger is going to go right through your chest, and then they're going to take a complimentary dagger and shove it up your ass. Yeah, Diddy. Horrible person. Now, I'm not perfect. I've done my own bad things in life too. Things that I regret. Things that I'm still paying for many, many years later. But nothing to this level. Nothing even close. You are a bad man, Diddy. Bad, bad, bad.
be broke is a joke. And he's going to give him this song and dance. I think we got this. You're but. You know, what he needs is somebody to tell him what the fucking truth is. You are fucked. You are absolutely fucked. You're going to prison for the good portion of the rest of your life. Guess what Diddy's going to do? He is not your gangster. He would probably snitch. But guess what? He's at the top of the heap. There's nobody to snitch on except for maybe somebody who's getting him the drugs. And who gives a shit about a low-level drug dealer when you got P. Diddy in custody?
I just want to add one thing about his lawyer. He was the ex-Manhattan assistant district attorney and former supervisor at the U.S. Attorney's Office who had a 2-year stint as chief of violent crimes unit prosecuting gangs, is known for spending nearly 2 decades working for Combs.
Well, Diddy should ask this guy, Agnifilo, and I don't know him, and I don't have any reason to badmouth him. I just know how these New York law firms work. How many federal cases have you gotten acquittal on? I haven't, anytime I got close to getting an acquittal, they dismiss the case. That's what they do in federal court. The feds have like a 96, 97% success rate. And in this case, half this stuff is irrefutable. The only thing that's refutable is the consent about it, right? That's the only thing that would be in dispute. Whether it happened or not, they're going to probably have the sex worker that was there. They're going to have the hotel records. They're going to have the receipts for all the fucking baby oil. And they have the baby oil. They have the actual baby oil.
Jeez Louise. Good God Almighty. They about to work you from the rooter to the tutor. Good Lord.
They got 1,000 bottles of baby oil. Who needs 1,000 bottles of baby oil?
A prevert.
I suppose if you're having multiple freak-offs. But let's see what else he has to say.
We've been wanting to make. I think he came out. Mr. Combs is a fighter. He's going to fight this to the end. He's innocent.
The end of his money.
He came to New York to establish his innocence. He's not afraid. He's not afraid of the charges. There's nothing that the government said in their press.
Okay, that's just dumb. He's not afraid of the charges? Wouldn't you be afraid of the charges? Where are you? You're in fucking Rikers Island. You goddamn well better be afraid. They just executed 2 search warrants. They've got obliterated serial numbers on firearms. They've got videos and baby oil.
Presentation today that changes anyone's mind about anything. He's been looking forward to this day. He's been looking forward to clearing his name, and he's going to clear his name. And we're going to stand by his side as he does. We believe in him wholeheartedly.
Until he runs out of money. Here's the thing. I shouldn't give him any shit because he's just doing his client's bidding. But these pre-trial posturing and that's all it is. It's just pre-trial posturing. He's not concerned. He damn well better. Then why he's on suicide watch? Because he's looking at life in prison. He's looking at a bullet. This is just like R. Kelly. This is just, R. Kelly was bad, was really bad. And did you see R. Kelly in the interview he did with what's her name? I mean, he freaked out. Why did he freak out? Because he saw the freight train coming. Guess what, Diddy? I got news for you. There's a freight train coming, and you are tied to those motherfucking tracks. And your lawyer, he's got a chisel, he's got a blowtorch, and he's got all kinds of other tools in his toolbox. And nothing he can do can remove you from those tracks, because that train is coming, and that train is the U.S. government, and they're going to run a train on you. Woo!
He didn't do these things. This was a
Bullshit. He didn't. Oh, so this indictment right here is just a bunch of shit. They just making all this shit up.
What's that song? It goes, all I really know is that the government wants to fuck with you and they ain't playing. You hear what I'm saying? All I really know is that the government wants to fuck with you and they ain't playing. You hear what I'm saying? Yeah, Diddler. It is over. It is a saran wrap. It is a Biggie Smalls, Tupac, LL Cool J, Nas, Guru, T.I., Boosie, and any other rapper you could think of rap. It's over. That's what your pig-headed ass gets.
They don't have anything on video. They have his recordings. They have his recordings of intimidating witnesses. This is what I don't like about when you go in front of the cameras and you're doing stuff for the media. He didn't do these things. You lose credibility. Less is more. He's going to fight this. I believe in his innocence. He has the right to the presumption of innocence, which he does in court, not where we sit. I mean, this is just a public opinion, right? So he has the right, and that's what I would do. But to say that he didn't do any of this, then what's with 1,000 bottles of baby oil?
Not to mention that video of him dragging Cassie Ventura down. You remember just watching that?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
When you say he didn't do any of this, there's video. There's video evidence of it. To get out there and to shill for. Here's the thing.
Box.
It's a defense lawyer's job to advocate for your client. It's not a defense lawyer's job to say things that aren't true.
10-year relationship. There's no coercion. There's no crime. There's basically just, someone who brought a civil case and now is finding themselves as a witness in a criminal case.
Cassie ain't the only one. Cassie is not the only one.
Hey, Attorney Rivers. Word on the street is he had Kim Porter killed. Word up. I ain't snitching, but I'm just dropping a little hot dime. That's what they say. That's what the folks said. Now I don't know if that's true, but all we know is she is unalived at this very moment.
Good, selling out arenas and everything, starting to act different.
Oh, you are such a prevert. Look what he's doing with Justin Bieber. Like, he's looking like an upset boyfriend. Listen to this guy.
You ain't been calling me and hanging out the way we used to hang out.
Well, I mean, you tried to get in contact with me, through all my, partners and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But you never really got my number, so.
Right, okay.
My number?
He is scaring the living daylights out of this kid. And he never looked at this video like, wow, I'm a real piece of crap. He's like a child predator. That's what this looks like right here. Like a child predator who has already raped this Justin Bieber when he was a child, and now he's upset that Justin Bieber didn't come back for more. And Justin Bieber feels obligated to give him his number. Oh, Puffy, you're going to the lake of fire when you die. We need you off of this universe. And any other one that exists, we don't want you in any of them. You're going to Gehenna. Bye-bye.
Comfortable he is. Notice how he said, "You haven't been hitting me up the way we used to." You know,
This is what I don't like when, when I have a case that's in the public, and I've had plenty of them, I say very little. And to say he didn't do this or didn't do that, let's just see what did he do.
And appears to corroborate some of the allegations of abuse against music mogul Sean Diddy Combs.
Okay, he's running down the hallway in a trial.
The video captured on multiple cameras.
She's trying to get away.
Assaulting his then girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, in a hallway at a Los Angeles hotel in March 2016.
But he didn't do that. This matches the indictment exactly. So tell me he didn't do that? I mean, this is what I don't like about lawyers that kind of go off the rails just to do their client's bidding. You can be an effective advocate without lying.
And we're going to fight this case with everything we have, as is he, and eventually...
No, you're going to fight it with everything he has, not with everything you have.
He's going to be shown to be innocent. And so tomorrow we fight again, and we'll fight every day until we don't have to fight anymore.
Okay.
Golly.
Holy shit. Okay, but he didn't do
Fight
this. Just so you know,
there,
he
don't have
didn't
to
do
fight
this.
anymore. Whatever.
He did not do this. He doesn't have.
Dirt box.
Oh my God. Look at all that baby oil. He didn't do this. He didn't have all these bottles of baby.
If that's baby oil or GHB, either way, you're a dirtbag. That is excessive for any liquid inside of that bottle. I remember my molester sister. Okay, so just really quick. So she got married when I was like 14 or 15. She was my guardian. Yeah, she stole all my money and kicked me out, right? But the guy that she married, oh, he was such a piece of crap. He was 6'6" at the time. He weighed like 350 pounds. Just a big, sloppy, fat, crappy looking person, right? But I remember he was so greedy that he bought these bottles of 2-liter sodas. And what he would do, because he didn't want to share them with kids like me when I was a child, he didn't want me to have any, or my brother, because we both lived with my sister, and then he came in the picture. He would line the whole bedroom up with bottles of 2-liter grape soda, like 50 bottles, 100 bottles. And I remember thinking I think I was 13. I wasn't 15, I was 13. But in my 13-year-old mind, I was like, that's excessive. That's a lot of soda to have lined up anywhere except for at a supermarket. So when I look at Diddler, I'm just thinking, my oh my. Whatever liquid's in that proves that you really are a freak. Because who does that? Except for a store. Who puts that many bottles of anything anywhere except for a store? Whatever.
Oil for nothing.
Dirt box.
He ain't getting out. And he isn't getting out in large measure because you've got, as recently as, I think, December 2023 or shortly thereafter, witness intimidation. Courts don't like that. You've got drugs. Courts don't like that. You've got firearms. Courts really don't like that. And you've got violence. So you've got a whole host of things that are really unovercomable, if that's a word, that P. Diddy cannot overcome with regard to detention. So what does that mean? So that means he's going to sit while this case is pending.
Church.
And, their lawyers are going to have to sift through shit ton of electronics. You think that Mark Agnifilo is gonna sift through the shit himself? He's not, but he's gonna bill for it. He's gonna have his associates do that, or paralegals, or whoever.
Yep.
You know, whenever you see a former prosecutor turned criminal defense lawyer, you know, I'm always suspicious of that. I don't know why. I just don't think they're good trial lawyers, you know, from the defense perspective. But I don't know him, and he may be a very, very fine lawyer. But he's making stuff that's just not true. You saw what happened with Cassie. I mean, his client's a piece of shit. I mean, I hate to say this, but you put your hands on somebody like that and you drag them, you know, and then you're forcing these people to have sex. It really is like Caligula. I mean, it is just you're powerful. You're a puppet master, and then you jerk off to this shit. You know, I mean, what the?
What? Yeah.
I've never made it.
Yeah, let's have another shot.
No, let's have another shot. I'm in. I'm in.
Okay. Yeah, you jerk off to it, but now you're gonna see Diddy. You're jerking off to it is disgusting, but now you're gonna see Diddy. And his inner sex demon is about to come out. His male whore demon is about to surface and reveal itself in this clip. You've been warned. Let's watch.
I'm in.
We
Okay,
need to treat our guests the right way.
Okay, let's give them shots too. Come on.
No. This is me and you.
All right, I need a shot.
Yeah, I got you. Your shot,
this
bro.
mine? Okay.
Yeah, I just have to see. It's all together. Me and you.
You see the look.
Eyes.
Let's do it.
You see that look on Fabulous's face, the rapper that the camera just flashed on. He's gonna come back into the frame, but the way he looked. Let's just go back. Let's see. Can we go back? That guy. You see the look on Jadakiss. So this is Fabulous, and this is Jadakiss. Do you see the look on his face? Like, as if to say, what the fuck is wrong with you, man? What the fuck? Now watch this gay demon jump out of Diddy. Watch this.
It's all together. Me and you. Eyes.
This is a sex demon.
Eyes. Yeah, I love this drink.
Where you put my bag
I like
at?
when you like this, Daddy.
Yeah, where you put my bag?
Daddy, I like when you
it's right here,
scrambling
it's
and
right
scraping for shit.
I like when you're like this, Daddy. I like when you're scrambling and scraping for shit. What the fuck are you talking about, Sean? What the fuck are you talking about?
No, I got
I
notes
like
and
that.
shit. You know, I've been practicing. I got
Yeah,
notes
there you
and
go.
shit.
Got your notes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not gonna go over that one.
See where I look
Did you
back
miss
on
me?
where I became.
Did you miss me though? For real, because I'm
I
saying
miss-
it seems like a thing.
I
with
miss
this
partying
birthday
with
party,
Puff, man. I
Man,
miss
but I'm
partying
talking about
with
for your
him.
birthday.
Huh?
Why won't you party with me for your birthday,
Why don't you take him shopping?
man?
Yeah, we partied for my birthday before. You came to my party. And,
No, but me and you ain't.
Did you hear? I don't know if that's fright or is that nervousness, as if he knows what Diddy means to party. Because Diddy ain't talking about just come and have some drinks, kick it, listen to music, and dance. He's talking about the baby oil. The after dark Diddy party. Fabulous no like that. But then Fabulous said that he's already partied. And maybe he was trying to say, I already gave it up to you once, but I don't want to do it anymore. Let's continue.
Never really party, you know what I'm saying? Eyes.
So Diddy's got this complex. So let's just you hear how he was in that. Well, you don't party with me on your birthday. Oh, it's like it's a sick thing. Listen to what he says to Bieber.
Everything's good? Selling out arenas and everything? Starting to act different, huh? You ain't been calling me and hanging out the way we used to hang out.
Because I don't want to suck your dick anymore. I mean, what the fuck?
I mean, you try to get in contact with me, through all my, partners and whatnot. But you never really got my number, so.
Right, okay.
My number?
I mean, he's complaining to a teenager that you don't really want to hang out with me anymore. Why would you want to hang out with a teenager to begin with? I mean, I know it's Justin Bieber, but I mean, why would you guilt a teenager for not wanting to hang out with you? Honestly.
And look at how uncomfortable Justin Bieber is.
He's absolutely uncomfortable. But I suspect he's like that with everybody. And then, so that you've got a character. Anyway, we don't need to dissect his personality. But you've got somebody who's flawed. A very, very flawed individual. So, I mean, this is a calculated individual. There's no question about it. And you're going to see, they're going to try this case. They're not going to offer him anything. I mean, if they offered him 10 years, he should take it. But they're not going to offer him 10 years. My guess is the guidelines are up around 300 months or thereabouts with all the different things that he's looking at. And so,
by the way, 300 months is 25 years. Diddy is 50. With the feds, you have to do, I believe it's either 85% or 90% of your time. Diddy, the jug is up. Or jig. I think it's jig. The jig is up, Diddy. Stop.
We'll keep following this, but this is going to be a federal case that's going to go down in history as everybody's going to come out later and say, you know what? I told you. I knew about. This is all. Yeah, I knew about him. All the celebrities are going to come out. Where's Jennifer Lopez? Wasn't she engaged to him for a while? She should have known him better than anybody. I mean.
Oh, and your boy who married her has divorced her. Jennifer Lopez, she is now divorced because he saw her. Ben Affleck, that's his name. From what I understand, he saw her in the freak off tapes and he got the fuck out. Yeah.
This guy's a flawed individual. He wanted to take 50 Cent shopping. I mean, that just tells you who he is. All right. So here's the long and short of it. So the next phase is they're going to have a motion hearing. And so his lawyers will, in all likelihood, file a motion to suppress the evidence obtained from the search warrants that were executed in Miami and Los Angeles. It'll go nowhere. But guess what? He will be billed through the fucking nose for those hearings. Because they'll have to prepare, they're going to have some testimony, and then blah, blah, blah. They're going to ask for a Franks hearing, that they're not going to get a Franks hearing. Just all the different things that they're going to ask for him. And it's just going through the motions, really. He's got and I'm saying this off the cuff, so I don't really know exactly what the evidence is because I'm not involved in the case. But I know how these things work. And so they're going to have a motions hearing, and he can ask for different things.
Hey, Attorney Rivers, we trust your opinion. I trust your opinion. That's why I wanted to narrate your video. I'm not just trying to steal your content, because I've watched you in several different of your YouTube videos going over different cases. And I look behind you and I see all your certificates back there which looks like that you are a very accomplished man. Okay, so we trust what you're saying. And thank you for even sharing the time with us about this, because I thought the Young Thug trial was something. The Diddy case might be the biggest case ever in the history of cases, as far as what I know about law and what I've seen, right? Like, I don't know of anything that has polarized the internet the way that this has, because my YouTube feed is inundated with videos on Diddy. Every other video is about this, what you're talking about. So thank you so much.
Things in the motions hearing, like participating in voir dire, requesting that the government retain their rough notes, suppression of certain evidence, that kind of stuff. And once they do that, then they'll get a trial schedule. But this is a case that probably will be deemed a complex case, so it'll be pushed out a ways. So don't expect a trial within the next year on this case. And guess what? Diddy's going to sit for the next year. So we'll see you next time here in Criminal Lawyer Reacts. This has been our reaction to the indictment of P. Diddy, Sean Puff Diddler Combs, the Diddler in Chief.
Love.
God. Anyway.
Yeah, why did you name yourself Love? Because you had so much hate in your heart that you wanted to change your name and put out a perception that you are love. No, you're the goddamn devil.
I don't have a lot of compassion for people who abuse other people, especially like when it comes to sex and that kind of stuff. So we'll see you next time here at Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, your board-certified criminal defense lawyer, with our content genius, Michael Rivers. Make sure you go to clrbrucerivers.com to get merch.
The hoodies are in. The hoodies are in.
And we'll see you next time here at Criminal Lawyer Reacts. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter. Look for us on Facebook. Sign up for Patreon. And we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts.